All right, fastest 15 minutes in social media, fastest 15 minutes on the internet, fastest 15 minutes anywhere. And my name is Judson Powell. So, doing a little stuff yesterday because I had some other business to take care of. But then I was like going through the internet and I noticed like this thing going down between the gospel rapper D1 or D1, I guess his site is D1 Music or whatever. And Rick Ross, the boss Rick Ross, about the lyrics and stuff like that in rap music. And so I was like kind of a little bit intrigued. And I guess Rick Ross kind of went off on him saying, look, young boy, this is all the stuff that we do in the community. And D1 was kind of going back saying, look, man, it's not about what you do in the community. It's about what you say in your music because it's hypocritical. So I'm looking at this stuff and this is a thing that I've been like into for a long time. It's not my first rodeo when it comes down to rap music and the impact that rap music has on our culture. And the fact of the matter is like this has been going on. There was a lady, and this is stuff you need to look up if you're interested in this. Look up a lady named C. Dolores Tucker, right? And she was one of the first proponents of getting rid of a lot of rap music because of the lyrical content, the negative light that it portrayed women in, and some other things that it was doing as far as gun violence, drugs, all of that stuff. And we can't deny, no matter what you want to say, you can't deny that is a part of the rap music culture. That is it. That's what that culture is basically all about. So I get that and I understand that. Okay, so Rick Ross is defending the fact that, okay, man, we give out, all of us rappers, we give out stuff in the community. We, at Thanksgiving, we give out turkeys, we give out bikes to the, bikes and trikes to the, to the people that don't have cars. We give Pampers and formula to the single mothers that can't afford it. And, so the list of all the things that, that they do good in the black community, of course, they want to highlight that. Okay. Well, D1 comes back and he's like, look, man, it's not about what you do. It's the fact that you wouldn't have to do it or as much of it if you didn't put those images and put that music into the streets, because a lot of it is probably, is caused by having our people think a certain way about the music and about this, that, and the other thing. So the way I did it when I was raising my younger, when I was young and my children, and, I was a young father. And when I was a young father, the way I taught my kids was, look, this is entertainment. It's not reality. And if it was too vulgar or too off of the scale, you couldn't play it in my house or in my car. Now if you want to do it and you go by yourself and you go off to yourself and do it, I can't stop you because you're going to do what you want to do anyway. And that's all kids do that anyway, whether or not you realize it or not. But the bottom line is, but look at it not as this is a way of life, which is kind of how they entwined hip hop into the culture, because you had all these hip hop artists going around talking, yeah, I live this. This is a way of life. Hip hop is life and all that kind of stuff. So when you had that going around, to me, that was dangerous. All right. And so when we got to that point, it got to be like, wow, because you got people rapping on songs and we're going to be grooved by the beat. It don't matter what you put over the beat. If the beat is hot, if you got a hot beat, people are going to be drawn to it and that's just spiritual, that's just having spiritual knowledge. There's certain rhythms, like 432 hertz. Like 432 hertz is a natural rhythmic tone that most African and African Americans will respond to. That's why a lot of artists record their music in that frequency, right? So these things are not, this is not it's not like you're brilliant because you thought of something. That's not it. And it's a well-known fact that we as Africans and African Americans, what do we like? We like the bass clef. So we like the bass instruments, we like the drums, all of those things that are in the lower registers, they respond better to us. So if I get something, a good beat, then chances are you're probably going to like it no matter what I say over it. And then here comes all of a sudden you got these guys and all of a sudden now they're calling women B's and H's. They're glorifying, how much drugs they use. And see, at first it was only marijuana, but now it's expanded out to pills and just all kinds of crazy stuff that they do in order to self-medicate and get high, right? So I get that, but the thing about it is, it's fine until you realize or until you start to come to this thing well, this ain't really entertainment. This is how I live. So, and it's a bad thing. Drugs is a bad thing. I've seen a lot of people get messed up by drugs. And I'm talking about good people that, that started doing drugs and just boom, they were just gone. And no more, never to be heard from again or dead or in the cemetery. So it's a bad thing. And I mean, we can name many people in show business that's happened to, right? So it's not a hard thing. So but here's the thing that I disagree with D1, even though his basic message is fine, I don't agree with necessarily the Christian take on it, right? Because I'm not a Christian. And my thing is, I practice African spirituality. I don't practice. In fact, I don't practice that like a religion. I practice that as I look at the principles that are involved in that, and I try to respect those principles, and I try to respect other people and other people's religions. Just like I'm not mad at you if you're a Christian or you're a Muslim or you're a Buddhist or whatever it is you are, that's fine. And part of our spirituality is that we honor and we respect all other forms of religion or spirituality, because if it's real to you, then that's your reality. If it's real to you, but to sit up there and to criticize people because they don't have the exact same religious belief, or they don't practice that religion the same way you do, to me, that's just as bad, or it can be just as bad. And so that's the only thing with D1, because my thing is, you don't have to be religious or spiritual to be a moral person. I know people literally that are atheists and agnostics that are some of the most moral people walking around on 2 feet. And they they'll tell you in a heartbeat, well, ain't no God. And, and for somebody that's cognitive dissonant of the whole religion thing, they're like, oh my God, because that's the first thing they do, especially Christians, like people in the black church, the first thing I'm going to pray for you, brother, because, you going, they just are constantly, and people do that to me all the time. And it's like, man, I'm fine. I'm good. Trust me, I'm good. If I wasn't good, but it's because I kept studying and kept searching and kept trying to seek out, quote unquote truth where it came to religion and spirituality. And then when I started to realize what really happened and what was really the intent behind religion and the taking of spirituality from indigenous people of the earth and all these different things that went on, when I started to realize what it was, then it changed my mind. And I'm the type of person, I'm open-minded, thanks to my mother. And when I was younger, we had extended family, which was called Umoja Abagunde. And Umoja Abagunde was our extended family, and it was African spiritual extended family. And we learned about different things that were in African spirituality, even though we were still going to a Christian church. I still was going to Oak Grove AME Church. Shout out to, Detroit. So I was still going to church every Sunday with my grandmother and a lot of times with mama. But I was also learning these other things and like the power, like stuff like the power of pyramids and stuff like that who knew? But I knew we had like pyramids and stuff like that. And it was like, these structures have some type of electromagnetic power. And, and at first you're like, I don't believe that. And then later on, when I got in my teens, I read the Egyptian Book of the Dead. And so I was reading all this stuff and I was like, you know what? A lot of this stuff is the same stuff that was in the Bible. Because I had been going to study the Bible. And then later on, transfer that later on, my grandfather passed away. And when my grandpa Judson Sr., when he passed away, then I was like, it was like, then my journey took a different path because I was like, well, why did God kill my grandfather? He was a good dude. He ain't never did nothing to nobody, Why do people? So my thing was, why do people die or this, that, and the other thing? So I started reading the Bible. I started going into the Bible, but not just reading it, but pulling it apart and like trying to figure out who are these people, why are they here and what are they doing? But at the same time, I still had all of this other stuff that I had from studying when I was younger. And then I had my dad come along, and my dad was always like, yeah, everybody want to tell you what rock Jesus is hiding behind, but don't nobody want to do what Jesus says. That was his famous line. He said, ain't nobody trying to do what Jesus says. Like, look at him. He said, they all going to say something to you, or they all going to try to do something to you, but they not going to follow what's in that book. He said, while you reading that book, he said, think about all of the situations that you've been in your life and nobody follow what he really said to do in that book. And I thought about it. I was like, you know what? He's right. But that still didn't deter me because I kept studying, and eventually I ended up being a pastor, and I ended up running ministries, and I ended up working for several big ministries that I won't mention, right? But what I'm saying is, and that's another thing that got me into the thing with the music, because I worked for a bishop, and the bishop owned like almost 70 radio stations. And I remember, and I remember coming into a meeting, and he was like, Love, he was like, there's no way I can keep playing, because at that time, the gangster rap and all that was starting to blow up big time. And he was like, there's no way in good conscience that I could keep playing this music. He was like, so all of the secular music stations, he was like, I'm selling them all. I'm getting rid of them. So he sold every secular music station that he had. And from that point on, the only thing he would do was play gospel. And so, and he asked me if I would manage the gospel stations. Not to say that, and I had no background in gospel. I didn't know nothing about no gospel music, nothing. And because I remember the first day I worked, and somebody called me and said, "Are you saved?" And I said, "Saved from what?" Which is a common question in the black church. Are you saved? Do you know the things that you need to do to get saved? I was like, saved from what? But I kept working and I kept doing. Why? Because I had family and I needed a job, right? I knew I had to feed my family. So that's why I kept working there. But the bottom line is that the music, a lot of the music, it's disgusting. It's misogynistic. It's violent. It glorifies the use of alcohol and drugs and everything like that. So where do we meet up? What's the solution to all of this? And then what impact does it really have on our race and on our society? Anyway, Fastest 15 Minutes is up. We're going to talk about this some more. Fastest 15 Minutes is up. My name is Justin Powell. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit all of the buttons, but make sure you hit the love button.